When I'm in the country and in the wilderness, it's my time of reflection. It's my time to truly think. I like to hear the sounds of nature, you know, and no cell phones or anything like that. It's just a way to take a deep breath and relax. I felt very comfortable and completely safe outdoors and in the woods. It was Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 25th, 2006.
It was right after Thanksgiving, so everybody was getting ready for Christmas.
It was a warm day. I would say high 70s, low 80s, and just a pretty beautiful day. Had a lot on my mind and thought, you know, I'd really love to go on a hike, and I'd really love to get outdoors. It was a jam-packed year. My career was really lifting off at that time. I worked for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office as a law enforcement deputy.
When I was 8 months pregnant, Brandon and I had the wild idea to buy a new house and move.
We're about to have our firstborn, and we're moving. It's just chaos.
Brandon was thrilled beyond belief to have a child, and he couldn't wait to have a child. But we were both busy.
Amongst all the chaos of that year, that moment we were waiting for finally came, and Savannah was born. It was kind of a running joke with her and I, and it became a nickname when Savannah was born. We called her Pancakes.
Because he claims when she was born, she smelled like pancakes. You could tell he was already in love.
She is just an inspiration. She is what we live for. I consider myself a little bit of a control freak.
He likes order in his world.
Anybody that's had children will tell you that it's the most amazing experience in the world, but at the same time, it's an overwhelming experience.
Here we had this small newborn baby in our house, is still in boxes, and it was stressful. We had made plans to go to my parents' house. We were going to barbecue, watch football.
That morning, I had told Courtney I was going to bust out for a bit, and so I called my buddy Robert Bateman.
Brandon and I have worked together for probably going on 6 years now.
He and I went hiking a couple times together and begun our friendship.
The area that we typically went hiking on was about 560 acres in size. On that property, you don't hear anything but nature.
I told Courtney, hey, I'm gonna go for a hike with Robert. And she's, all right, hurry back. I'm gonna be at my mom's house with Savannah.
Then I said, okay, but if you're gonna leave, you better bring me some lunch, because we weren't having dinner till much later.
And I went to the closet and I grabbed my snake boots and I brought them to the car.
He, gave us both a kiss and he left.
The skies were clear. It was one of those days that was just a perfect day for hiking. And we figured we'd maybe hike out for about an hour out onto the property, give us an hour out and then an hour back. So we were talking maybe a 2-hour total time frame for hiking.
Robert had gotten out of the car and I said, hang on a minute, man, I'm gonna put on my snake chaps. I'm familiar with just about every species of reptiles and the wildlife that's here and the dangers of those wildlife. I told myself, this is an 80-degree day in November. I knew the snakes were gonna be hungry, and I knew that they were probably gonna be out, at least, if nothing else, sunning. I looked at the boots, and I thought, yeah. I had to lace them up, and they're kind of uncomfortable. So I'm like, you know what, just forget it. And so I said, let's just go, man. I'm not worried about it. We're not gonna be gone long.
I said, okay. Knowing I didn't own snake boots at the time, I didn't have any on, and I'd been out there several times and never even thought about it.
Shut the door, locked it, and we started on our hike.
We thought that would be the start of a good day. We started out on a trail that was a well beaten down trail that had been traveled before. I remember we started down that trail and Brandon was a little bit nervous about getting lost. And he stopped to mark where we'd started.
Curiosity got the best of us, and we decided we were going to get off the beaten path and we were going to walk through the woods a little bit. This particular set of woods was so thick, you're really kind of having to concentrate.
The trails weren't well maintained.
I would say that we were not prepared for that hike at all. Robert and I had walked in approximately a mile. We came to a stop, and we were trying to kind of get our bearings, because everything looks like exactly the same in there, it's so thick. I thought we needed to go one way, and Robert kind of thought we needed to go a different way.
The terrain out there is a little bit on the difficult side.
I'm not going to admit that we were lost, but we were slightly turned around. And suddenly, out of the blue, I felt this amazing pain in my left leg. And it almost knocked me off my feet. It hit so hard.
It was just a real loud thud.
I couldn't describe it other than it being a baseball bat with 2 syringes on it, filled with boiling hot water. And somebody swinging the bat as hard as they could and injecting that boiling water right into your leg.
About that point, I heard Brandon yelp.
And then, onset of an instant terror, I knew what it was.
The look on Brandon's face was pretty shocking. I looked down and I saw the snake laying right up against a downed tree.
I saw his eyes, and then I looked down and saw it. And its head was moving side to side like this with its tongue coming out. It was about to strike a subsequent time. I didn't want to move because I knew that snake was quicker than I was. I could not move. It was well within striking reach of me again, and it was targeted and fixed right on my leg.
The look in his face, I mean, it was just almost pure shock, frozen.
I remember yelling, I said, "This is bad. This is really bad." And then I immediately looked at that snake thinking, this thing is just about to cause me a whole lot of problems. And man, I had no idea.
I drew my weapon out that I had, my off-duty weapon. One shot is all it took. Snake dropped straight to the ground, the rattle stopped rattling, and Brandon says, "I know exactly what it is, let's go."
I can remember very distinctly my hands and my face instantaneously started tingling. And I knew that that was a telltale sign that I was envenomated.
He was already starting to turn pale.
I knew that I was going to progressively get worse, and I knew I needed to get anti-venom. I thought that I would actually be able to walk slowly and calmly all the way to the truck. It came to a shock to me when I collapsed.
I told Brandon, I said, you know, you need to get up. We need to keep going.
And I knew something's not right. I should be able to get up, but I couldn't.
I told him, I said, well, let's carry you out. Let's, you know, I'll carry you. Brandon's a big guy. You're just not gonna pick him up and carry him. I think I was kind of starting to lose it a little more than Brandon was. I had no experience whatsoever dealing with snakes or snake bites. We were in some serious trouble. I dialed an internal number that we have.
Hey, this is 2224. I'm off duty, and I've got somebody here that's been bit by a rattlesnake. I do know him, Brandon Parker. He's a deputy.
There was 2 distinct fang marks. And it was actually squirting blood with each heartbeat. So that led me to believe that it was in some type of artery or a vein that I might have been hit in. I could literally feel the venom everywhere it went. I could feel it as it was coming up my leg. I could feel it as it was coming into my hips. I could feel it as it was going into my stomach. And that's when we put the constrictive belt on, not a tourniquet, but just a belt to try to constrict it a little bit. I couldn't really sit up. All I wanted to do was lay back.
So I just put my legs behind him and propped him up the whole time. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you feel helpless, totally helpless. I said, I'll call dispatch again. I told him, I said, hey, I need you out here now.
Hello? Hey, Robert. Brandon's pretty much out. I think he's lost, pretty much losing his breathing.
I need EMS, I need helicopter, I need any deputy, I need somebody here now.
We were at my parents' house, and we were mostly in the living room watching the game. I think my mom was the first one to look at the clock and say, isn't Brandon supposed to be here by now?
I started to lose consciousness for the first time, and then I kind of came back to. And that's the first time I thought that this might be it. So my idea of survival was, as long as I'm awake, I'm not dead. I said, Robert, do not let me fall asleep.
Kept telling me, says, don't let me go to sleep. You know, don't let me go to sleep. If I go to sleep, I'm gonna die. Kept telling him just to wake up. Kept slapping him in his head. I know I hit him several times. It was like an eternity. Told Brandon, I said, hey, let me go out and at least help. You know, maybe I can get him here quicker.
I said, you're not leaving me here by myself.
And Brandon wouldn't let me go. Brandon said, I don't want to die by myself. So I didn't. I stayed there.
I was fading out. I said a prayer that I said, if this is my time, I'll come to you with open arms. But I'm begging you, don't let it be my time. I need more time with my daughter. I wasn't thinking about my life ending. I was thinking about not being there for her. We talked about our family, and I told him, you know, you make sure you know I love them, and you make sure that you tell them that.
Brandon wanted to relay to me stuff to his wife and daughter. I said, you know, you're gonna have that opportunity to tell them yourself, you know, we're gonna get out of this. And it just seemed to get worse and worse from there.
I was beginning to really lose it.
He was going. He was on his way out.
69. Hey, 2224 back.
Robert Bateman, yes.
He's about ready to go. They may need to airlift him, so they may need to put him on standby, because he is definitely in and out of consciousness at this point.
She kept assuring me that help was on the way, but just help wasn't coming quick enough.
This guy's got a family and girls. This can't happen to
I
me.
know.
It just can't, Michelle.
Good. The best to get him there as fast as I can.
I know, Michelle. This can't happen to me.
I thought a friend of mine just died right here in front of me.
This is not gonna happen like this to me today. I have a daughter to raise. I have a wife to come home to, Courtney, and I wasn't gonna let that be the end of it. My daughter's nickname came into my mind, and I was doing whatever I could to fight. I was yelling, "Pancakes!"
I didn't know whether the venom made it to his brain, and I had no idea about pancake and what that meant at the time. Maybe he was hungry. All I'm listening for is a siren. I want to hear a siren.
Robert was reassuring me, "Hey, man, they're here. They're coming, man. Hang on. They're here. They're coming. Hang on."
I could hear somebody yelling, and I started yelling back. Emerging through these kind of thick brush with the EMS crew.
Imagine how hard it is to carry a guy as big as I am, where you can barely walk through the woods, let alone carry somebody out of the woods. That team of individuals took turns carrying me through that thick brush the remainder of the mile out of the woods to my truck.
They loaded Brandon up in the back of the pickup truck, and off we went. Getting to the top and actually seeing a helicopter sitting in my front yard, probably the biggest relief there ever was. The pilot pulled a vial out and gave Brandon a shot of anti-venom. Brandon was bad. I think his blood pressure at that point was 50/13. Brandon probably should have already been dead. I'll never forget watching that helicopter take off. What were his chances? Is he even still alive? Is he not alive?
Brandon had been gone going on 4 hours. I was starting to get a little perturbed. We had made plans, he wasn't here. And then I went to the kitchen to get a drink. And my phone rang. And my mom picked it up and she said, "Oh, it's Brandon," and handed me the phone. And I was like, "Oh, there he is, finally." And it wasn't Brandon. And instantly I said, "Something's wrong." The voice identifies himself as a detective. And my heart just stops. And he said he's in critical condition. He's been airlifted. that was it. You know, that's when I just lost it. I'm thinking, was he going to be awake? Was he going to be unconscious? Was he even going to be alive?
I was afraid he wasn't going to make it. I had prepared myself at that point that I was going to get down to the hospital and get the bad news.
The doctors were telling me, we don't know if he's going to make it. We've never seen anything like this before. Doctors are running everywhere. Nobody can answer my questions. Brandon's screaming in pain. It was a moment that you never think's gonna happen to you.
All I could think of is I want to get stabilized so that I can see my friends and family, and more importantly, my wife and child. The thought of Courtney having to raise Savannah by herself is my biggest fear.
From the start of that day to the end of that day seemed like an eternity.
In some ways, it almost still doesn't seem real. It almost seems like a dream.
When my vitals finally stabilized, they allowed my wife to come in and see me. At the time, I was in a very vulnerable position where I couldn't walk, I couldn't move. The anti-venom had serious effects on me, making me vomit and things like that. I didn't want my wife to see me like that.
Courtney came out and said, "Robert, Brandon wants to see you." He says, "You know, you saved my life," and I said, "No, Brandon." I said, "You saved your own life."
I was in the hospital for a total of 17 days. I had to have 30 vials of anti-venom, give or take. I had to have several blood transfusions. The recovery was harder than anything I've ever been through.
After 3 weeks, they finally allowed Brandon to come home.
The first time I saw Savannah, I was overwhelmed. It's just hard to look at her and know that you almost left the person you love the most. I am truly grateful that I was able to fight through this and to have a second chance, so to speak, so that I can be here for my daughter, Savannah.
Watch this. I see a kitty cat.
If there's one person responsible for my life on this earth, it would have to be Savannah, because she made me fight through that. And the second person I would say would be Robert.
Brandon managed to stay alive in those woods just because of who Brandon really is. He says I saved his life. He calls me his hero, but he'd do the same for me.
You always hear the expression, life is fragile, but it doesn't hit home, you know, until something like this happens. And then you realize, wow, it could be gone. Everything could be gone.
What do you feed the kitty cat?
Chicken some milk.
And it's just the biggest blessing of my life to watch her grow each day, and I'm thankful for that.
You got on Daddy's boots.
Her hands are hips.
If I did not have Savannah in my life at that point, I think that I probably would have died in those woods. She gave me enough fighting inspiration to make it through it. I want to be there for Savannah like she was for me that day.
One reason why I love Hawaii is because it's surrounded by the wildlife. The beaches are very nice and warm. When I began to dive, I fell in love with the ocean. Hawaii is filled with a lot of different fishes. And the adrenaline of just seeing a shark 2 feet, 3 feet of you is like, whoa. My family, they were always worried because they said danger lurks everywhere in the ocean. That never leaves my mind that, yeah, anything can happen. Every time I go, my mom's always on my mind.
I teach Tonga to swim since he was 2 years old. And then when he started go diving, I didn't like it. I don't want him to go diving at night. But sometimes I have to just be quiet about it because I know he loves it. He loves the ocean.
Our Tongan tradition is, for some reason, the mom always feels for her children. It's like everything I think, everything I do, she already knows.
I have a very close relationship with my children. They are the most precious thing in my life. So I'm always there for them.
After school, I came home and Braven had called me and he told me, oh, the ocean is nice and flat today, you want to go? And I said, oh, Braven, let's go. At the time, I wasn't really thinking about my dad's birthday. I said to myself, oh man, my dad's gonna kill me. My dad said, where are you going? And I said, Dad, I'm sorry, but I told Braven I'm gonna go and he's already on his way. He lives far away. I don't want him to just go home empty-handed. And he didn't want to say anything to me because he was already mad, so he just walked straight into the house. I knew my dad was disappointed, so I just left it alone. When Braven pulls up, he just has a big smile on his face.
When I first met Tonga, I met him through a company I was working for, and he was the helper. And then I asked him if he wanted to go dive. He said, yeah, he's all into it.
My dad called my mom. She said, you already promised your father. He's in the house waiting for you. She was really mad at me. I could see it in her eyes. And she said, just go, and we'll see you later.
I worried about Tonga a lot. I still have that feeling one day something bad will happen to him.
As we was going there was a strong feeling in my heart that something was wrong. And I had this headache that was so incredible that I even ended up sleeping on the way to the beach. I thought, oh, everything's gonna be all right once I get into the ocean.
I called two of my other friends. They wanted to go. They asked me where we were going to go. I thought we were going to go to Kahana. It's a nice day.
Once we got there, the ocean was not what Braven said it was. It wasn't flat. The wave was just continuous. We put the boat down, looked at the ocean, and all we seen was a caramel color. This is not good. We should go back. But at the same time, I just wanted to fulfill that longing that I had. I wanted to get into the ocean, just relax. So we went out anyways.
We went inside the restaurant and I started feeling funnier. I feel like my stomach was kind of moving. I kind of feel something was wrong, but I thought it was just me.
When we got into the water, our target was to swim out within 200 yards. That's where we know that there's a little channel there. It took us about a good hour just to get out of where the sand was. It was still very, very dirty. And that's when Rocky Boy said to Braven, this is not gonna work. We can't see anything. So they ended up going in. That's when Braven asked me, you sure you want to keep going? So I told Braven, okay, let them go in and we just keep going.
My husband was watching me and then he said, are you okay? And I said, no. I need to go home already because I think I'm sick.
A golden rule is that one out, we're all out. So me and Tonga, we break the rule.
I can't concentrate on the conversation. I cannot laugh.
We went at least 30 yards more. And so Braven flashed the light at me and said, I think we should change our route. Instead of going straight out to the right, we changed out and we went to the left. And all of a sudden, that's when it just came clear. And I found that kind of odd. So I swam between the two. And as I went into the murky waters, it was warm and dirty. You go into the clean waters, nice and cool. Probably a good hour after we said goodbye to Rocky and them, all we seen was just clear waters. That's when we started scooping a lot of fish. A lot of people ask us why we dive at night, because the fishes are sleeping at night. They can't really see anything, so they can't run away. When you dive at night, it's different, you know? It's like a dream, but you're actually in there. I've never seen the ocean that clean in my life. I mean, you can literally look down into the reef and you can see the octopuses moving. After we got the amount of fish that we were satisfied with, Braven flickered the light at me and he said, "That's enough, we gotta go in already, because it's only us two out there." And then I seen Braven's light shine towards me.
All of a sudden, this long fish came swim between me and him. It paused for a moment. And then the fish swerved to the left of him.
Something just crossing my face real fast. I thought it was a shark. And then I seen the fish. It stood just like that and it just stared at me. I stared right in his eyes. It just kicked once and it was out of my sight. That's when I kind of panicked because I seen how big it was. It was a full-grown 5-footer. And I was like, man, this thing can hurt someone.
And then Tonga turned around and put the flashlight in front of his chest.
I flickered my light at Braven. I said, "Did you see that?" Braven was like, "Yeah."
As soon as I said that, I hear something skimming on the right side of me.
I felt an agonizing pain inside my chest. I sink back down into the ocean.
The nose of the fish got him right in the chest.
I was trying to gasp for air.
I knew how bad it was, but I didn't want it to think that way.
His eyes were so big and he was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I've never seen that look on Braven's face before. That's when I knew something was terribly wrong. And I looked down. I've never felt that kind of pain before. It was incredible. And that's when I felt the whole top of my body just died. And for some reason, my legs were still kicking underwater. That's what kept my head up.
I didn't know what to do.
I told him, "I'm jumping in the boat." That alone was like a fight of my life. The pain went away in a couple of seconds. All I could feel within the suit, it started coming warm from my hands, going down towards my stomach and towards my legs. That warmth going through my suit, it was all blood.
I just wanted to keep myself calm so I can get my friend to shore alive and get help. I have a mile and a quarter to swim towards shore, and that's a long ways. This is one of the hardest things I've ever done.
When Braven was swimming into the shore, all I could hear was Braven's breath, and his fins were hitting the boat. The feeling that I had, it was so peaceful. I wasn't scared to die. I thought, this is really the end. So it's my time. So I just closed my eyes, waited. After I looked into the sky, I said, "I'm coming home." As we got to shore, that's when I opened my eyes. And all I seen was Braven come over the boat and say, "Are you all right?" So I said, "Oh man, I'm still alive."
He was in pain. He was in deep pain. I told Tonga, "I'll carry you to my truck."
He said, "I'm gonna carry you up the rocks." And I said, "You can't carry me, Braven, I'm too heavy." go get some help.
I was getting very desperate for help.
All that ran through my mind was just close your eyes and just wait. And then you'll be gone.
So I ran up the road. I waited there, but there's no cars passing by. I can see quite a long ways. I can't get no help. There's no cars passing by.
Sitting there waiting to die, that's when everything else came back. That's when I made the decision, man, I have to try and live. Because I knew that I have a family that's waiting for me, and I have people that love me. And who am I to be so selfish to just want to die and not try to fight for my life? So that's what took over.
Then finally, I remember there's a house right around the corner. I knock on the guy's door, lights is on. And I look inside the glass. I see a person watching TV. Please, I need help. And I knock the door again. And then he looked my way, and then he turned his back and then watching TV again. Please, I need help. Please call 911 for me. And I look, I see him still watching TV, so I was totally lost. Just helpless. Like I gonna lose my friend. I thought Tonga was gone already, so I thought I would never see him again.
A lot of flashbacks came back to me in my childhood. Going to school, being grateful about the parents that I have. Tried to get up. I couldn't. I just couldn't find the strength to. My body wouldn't let me.
Around the bend of the mountain, I see a light coming. So I say a little prayer in my mind. I say, oh Lord, I'm sorry I haven't prayed in my life. Please, my friend is down here dying. Please, just make it this one time. Please, let it be on cop, please. And I saw the car. I could feel like the hair in the back of my neck sticking up and goosebumps poking all over my arm. And then it was a cop.
When I seen that bright light, I thought, oh, now I'm gonna die. The bright light was the police officer's flashlight. He was shining in my face to make sure I didn't sleep. The cop got help while Braven came to the boat, and he just held my hand and he was like, oh, they're coming.
I said, Tonga, whatever you do, don't go to sleep.
Within minutes, all I heard was sirens. The thought in my mind that just staring death in the face already, that didn't go away from me. It was like I was in a whole different world. I could hear the guy trying to talk to me, and he couldn't believe that I was still talking to him. I remember him telling me, you lost 3 liters of blood and you're still talking to me. The last thing I remember doing was telling the nurse. She whispered and she said, is there anyone you want to call? I said, my mom. And that's when they put me to sleep.
The phone rang and I feel goosebumps. I don't know what, but I feel something was wrong. I can hear the tone on my husband's voice, and I said, give me the phone, because he was so speechless. He couldn't respond. And they said, is this Mrs. Lomoli? And I said, yes, this is she. And said, yeah, your son is here at Queen's Hospital, and you need to come down. Hours passes by, nobody came. That was the most scary thing. And to wait for the surgery, it's like eternity. And then finally, somebody said it's gonna be taken up to the ICU. I can feel when my son is coming closer to me, and then I just got up from where I was sitting right by the elevator. And right when I see the toe, I know it was Tonga. Finally, when he woke up, that's when it clicked to my mind that he is alive.
The next thing I remember was waking up in the ICU. And the nurse said, there's someone here for you. And that's when my mom walked in.
I said, you're hurt, Don't worry about that. I'm just right here.
Her face was just gentle and soft. I knew that look was she's grateful that I'm still alive.
I saw tears just streaming down out of the corner of his eyes, and I start to notice that his heart on the machine is going faster. I can see him trying to move his mouth. I knew he was trying to talk to me. So I reach into my purse and grab my eyeliner and a piece of paper.
The first thing I wrote to her was, "I love you, Mom."
I told him that I love him too. I just squeezed his hands and I said, "Talk to me later, just relax for now. You're in bad shape."
Raven came over. First thing I seen was his smile again. And once I seen the smile, instead of me smiling like how I always smile responding back to him, I kind of cried and I said, "Thanks, man." And he came over and we just hugged, shook hands, and he asked me how I was doing. Even up to today, Braven still can't stop talking about it. I just told Braven, I'm grateful for you being there with me that night. The reason why I survived is because I know my purpose in life is not fulfilled yet. I know there's something I have to do, but I still have to go and find it so I can pursue it.